Brock Purdy went on the Stinkin' Truth podcast with Mark Schlereth. Or I shouldn't say he went on. Mark Schlereth on the Stinkin' Truth podcast shared a story about Brock Purdy, about a conversation they had.
Like he's operating at a very high level. But I asked him the one question that, he's been saddled with. And I looked at him like I'm looking at you, and I said, game manager, how do you respond? And I was impressed because he bowed his back a little bit.
Did he?
Yeah.
How so?
He bowed his back because Brock Purdy said, anybody who calls me a game manager either is not watching the film or doesn't know what they're looking at.
Ooh, spicy.
In the end, the end of this thing will tell the story. And I'm telling him, he goes like, hey, listen, I'm not saying I'm the best. I'm not saying I'm the best quarterback or I'm the best, but he goes, I got some gunslinger in me, and you look at some of the throws I make, and you look at some of the windows I throw it into. He goes, I know that I'm not the biggest armed guy. I never have been. So I had to make up for the lack of arm talent with perfect timing, with great footwork, with being on time, and knowing where everybody is.
Yeah, so Mark Schlereth last week on his Stinkin' Truth podcast, he was breaking down, a lot about Brock Purdy. He actually was talking about the Ravens game and what he got out of it. And actually, before he said this excerpt, this little part of the conversation, he says that he actually was happy that the 49ers lost this game because he knows that they could learn a lot. And he says that Brock Purdy has he said when he went back to the film, he saw stuff. He's like, there's actually a lot of good in this film that he could take away from it. And he says Kyle agreed. Like, yeah, it was a bad loss, but at the end of the day, there's so much that they could have learned from this game that'll make it better for them. So I think that was his big talking point. But then he says, he's really impressed with Brock Purdy and just the way he is. And he says he kind of took him back with one of the comments he mentioned to him, and they were like, oh, well, what did he say? So he says that Brock Purdy told him that anyone that calls me a game manager, because we know all these last couple of weeks, people are saying he's a game manager. Cam Newton said, oh, you're just a game manager. So he says, anyone that calls me a game manager is either not watching the film or doesn't know what they're looking at. Like, that is a spicy quote from Brock. And Brock is usually humble, but I guess he opened up to Mark Schlereth, and he told him. And then Schlereth went on to examine, like, what he saw in the film and how he anticipates and just how special this young man is. And he goes, I really love that he said that. And then he says that Brock didn't say that he's like the best. He's not the best quarterback. He doesn't have the best arm in the world, but he says that he's better than a lot of these people are giving him credit in terms of making the downfield throws. And that was the spiciest quote I've ever heard from Brock, because you wouldn't expect that from Brock Purdy, man. That was a bar of a quote. I loved it.
That sounds like something I would say about people who say that about Brock Purdy. I mean, that sounds more like a Larry Krueger than a Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, I would, of course, that's the kind of thing I would say to people. Hey, man, if you're calling this guy a game manager, you're either not watching the film or you don't know what the hell you're looking at. That's the kind of thing that I feel like I have said, would say, and will say. Yeah. It surprises me that Brock did say it, but I love that he said it because it's the freaking truth. Yeah. And then the other thing, though, that has to be included here is that, and Brock has said this a couple of times, and I love it every time he says it. And he says it, and he doesn't put a lot of emphasis on it. He kind of trails off. So it's like people don't gravitate towards it. But if you go back over the lineage of quotes that he's had this year about people that have doubted him, people that don't believe in him. When I asked him, I said, hey, you know what? The Eagles fans and the media that I've talked to say that you're the weak freaking link. You know what I mean? He said it again there. And the quote was, you know what? I guess we'll just have to see when this is all over.
Yeah.
And it's like, that sounds like a guy whose plan is to be standing in the winner's circle in Vegas on Super Bowl Sunday. Does it not?
I don't. And he said that also. I think Schlereth added that too. Like, we'll see when it's all over. Like,
When it's all done, we'll see.
When
And I
the
love that Brock keeps saying that because it's basically like, you know what, MFers, I'm winning this freaking Super Bowl, and you guys can all bite me at that point.
And at
And
the end, when
I
he
love
goes
it.
to Lombardi, he can say, "Okay, so it's all said and done. Where are the like? I can just." He's trying to.
He's going to take a victory lap at that point. He's going to be like game manager this MFers.
I want him to have like the.
I want him to say that badly.
Would be crazy.
How sweet would that be? That would. You want to talk about your perfect end to the Disney special, which is Mr. Irrelevant? He stands on the Super Bowl stage in Las Vegas and says, "Game manager, this MFers," as he's holding the Lombardi. In some ways, I live to see that moment, man. I want to see that moment. I want that. It would be the end of the Disney special. They would have to bleep out the final line of the Disney special.
I love it. I'm gonna get over 1 million views on that video, Larry.
Oh my God! I mean, seriously, I'll break through the crowd and give the guy a high five right there, right then and there. That will be awesome. I mean, that would just be incredible. That would be the there's the ice cream sundae, but that's the cherry on top right there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Brock Purdy, game manager, this Jack.
God, man, that would
be the Lombardi.
Yeah.
Oh man,
that's gonna be a moment. That'd be the moment. Oh my God.
Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something? And by the way, after watching Jim Harbaugh win and watching the Ravens with John Harbaugh and Father Harbaugh and Mama Harbaugh and watching the whole thing, I would love to see the Niners get the Ravens and slap them around and get payback for that Super Bowl in New Orleans, because the Niners should have beaten them in New Orleans. The Niners probably should have beaten them earlier this year, but the 5 turnovers, and it was just the game. The Niners had more yards rushing, more yards passing. I mean, it was the Niners in a lot of ways won that game in several different ways. But the turnovers are the turnovers, and the Ravens won legitimately. But I would love to see John Harbaugh have to just get beat down in the Super Bowl by the Niners A game.
I would love it. I would love it to have Jim Harbaugh being the only one winning the trophy this year, and his brother just crying, and his dad and his mom, oh, we're so tired. And I want to see Brock Purdy hoisting that Lombardi over John Harbaugh. Oh my God, I need to see it, because you're right. We owe them some revenge from that New Orleans Super Bowl. Super Bowl, I'll never forget it. Talk about it. Ran the ball, whatever it is, but we need redemption, Larry.
God. And then you know what? It would be great if Shanahan on the stage, as he's accepting the Lombardi trophy, he hands it to Jed and he says, "Here's the win over the Ravens that Harbaugh gagged away."
Oh!
Hey, Jim Harbaugh, call another timeout, MFer.
Oh no!
This is what you don't have, Jack. This is what you don't got, buddy. With Shanahan popping the jersey.
How about them?
And I want to see Brock with the cap turned backwards.
Yeah.
Cap backwards.
Backwards hat, Brock. Coming.
Hey, Colin Cowherd, lead this, buddy. Lead this, Jack. Brock doesn't talk enough trash. He needs to hire me as his trash talking writer. Because
if you were his trash talking writer, I don't know, Larry.
It'd be awesome. It would be awesome.
Oh man.
Dink and dunk this, MFers. The hat backwards. Hey, this is for the one that Kyle up there. This is for the one that Jim Harbaugh couldn't win for you. Man. Jack.
Yeah.
Have a good night, John Harbaugh. Be awesome. Be absolutely awesome.